Good day to you, child of God. This is the Remnant Seed Bible Study Channel. Welcome. Got a really complicated subject today. This is all supplication, speculation, whatever you want to call it. This is my take, and this is what I see going on in the world today. And beloved, this is we're on the cusp of a new age with the advent of technology and AI. And there are things going on behind the scenes that most people are not aware of. Your average person in the world, this is all over the world, is not really aware of the technology that mankind has right now. And if many of you, if you found out, it would totally just blow your mind at some of the technology that's being used and that they've developed in the last few years. And we're right on the verge of our DNA being completely contaminated so that we lose our connection to God. And I see this happening in many areas of life. It's just, if I were the devil, this is exactly how I would do it. And we know that the devil has tried to do this in the first world age. He deceived a full 1/3 of God's children. Somehow he did this, and I'm not quite sure how this happened, but a full 1/3 of God's children actually fell down on their knees and worshiped this joker. And I believe right now we're on the verge of the same thing, the second overthrow of Satan, and he's going to use technology to do it. And I want to try to show you, I want to make the case how important, your soul is very important, okay, in your spirit. But there's also a battle for the tabernacle of that soul and spirit, which is your flesh, your DNA, your genetic makeup, your genome. And this is where the battle is being fought right now, and they're right on the edge of being able to completely change the genome of man. Therefore, we will lose our connection to God through the flesh. Doesn't mean that the spirit has lost the connection, but there's definitely an awareness of God in your soul, and they want to cut that off, and they want to take away procreation out of the hands of God. And they're right. We're right there, beloved. This could happen at any time, and I want to give you a warning and show you what I've uncovered in God's Word. And this is going to be rather long, and I may have to cut this depending on how this goes. I may cut this into 2 videos. So strap your seatbelts on. All right, and I'm just going to call this the mark of the beast, because I believe these are closely tied, and nothing has gotten by God. He knew this would happen from the beginning, beloved. He knew the depths of our intelligence and where mankind would eventually end up. And I believe that if this happens, it will bring him that will end this age, and God will have no choice but to intervene. I don't want to say God don't have any choices, but this is what I would think, that if they actually steal this connection away from mankind and change our genome, God will step in, and I firmly believe that. And this battle has been going on between the devil and God for your soul since the beginning of time, and it started in the Garden of Eden. And I'm going to make this case, and that's why this is going to be really complicated, but I'm going to make the case for this very event happening. For the first time in the history of mankind, we're now facing extinction. And it won't be done with nuclear weapons or conventional war, but it'll be done on a molecular level through technology. And many will not even know what happened, because this will be done through supernatural deception. And by the time everybody wakes up and realizes what's happening, it's going to be too late. The devil's the author behind this, and he's been trying to steal the kingdom away from God since the beginning, for millennia. Mankind has reached the end of its rope, and God will intervene in the coming years. And the global elite will find another way to deceive you into getting another vaccine or a delivery system, and to deliver this deadly payload of contaminated DNA into your body. And it will either kill you or change you into something that's not even human and no longer will be Homo sapien. And this is scary, beloved, but this is actually happening. And we're very close to artificial intelligence being a singularity, essentially a machine becoming self-aware of its own existence. And nobody knows what AI will do once it achieves a singularity or self-awareness. It may try to just take the human race out, beloved. Imagine a world in which machines will become God. There'll be no mercy or empathy, and love will become a thing of the past. And without naming names, there's a group of high-profile sociopaths or psychopaths, whatever you want to call them, behind all this. And they make public appearances to actually tell the world their plans because they're so arrogant, beloved. And what comes out of their mouth is completely outrageous, but for some reason nobody questions them. And every one of them has a little Hitler syndrome, and they see themselves as the savior of mankind. They're playing God is essentially what they're doing. And they actually worship Mother Earth, beloved. Imagine a world where there's transhumans and who are part machines and, bionic, and will be under the control of them. And imagine a world where transhumans that are part machine and part humanoid or bionic robots that are unable to procreate. They've completely taken it procreation out of the hands of God, and that's what you're seeing in the world today. And that's why they're doing all the woke agenda is being brought about. It's nothing but the devil's agenda to take procreation away from God and normalize a single sex society where there is no male and female, no XX, no XY chromosomes. And this is the means to the end. This is what they're doing by changing the very vocabulary when it comes to sexuality. These beings that they will create, these bionic beings that they're going to create, would be under the control of the master race of a select and chosen people because they fit a certain DNA profile. This selection has already taken place through a DNA database used to find this master race, what they call a master race. It's my belief there will be a mixture of Kenites, who are the sons of Cain, the sons of the devil, direct descendants of the devil himself, and fallen angels who've mixed in with mankind ever since the beginning of this age. This started with the fallen angels in Genesis 6. And it's the reason God flooded the earth. It was to destroy all these hybrids, and it was an abomination to God. Totally went against his natural order. And the first time this occurred was when Satan seduced both Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden, and second through the fallen angels of Genesis 6. Satan has made every attempt to pollute the DNA of mankind and take away our connection to God and bring that connection to himself. And, our connection through God is through the Spirit when you get born again, but there's also a connection through your pineal gland and your flesh body, beloved. There's a connection between both of them, your soul, or all three of them, your soul, spirit, and your body. But his most important task was to contaminate the family tree of Jesus Christ, and he failed at it miserably. The Lord made sure the seed line from Adam and Eve was pure all the way up to the Mary, who was the mother of Jesus. And the Lord made sure that seed line was not contaminated, beloved. Throughout the ages, Satan has tried to destroy the connection between God and his children, and he used every trick in the book. Now he's going to use technology in his last attempt to destroy mankind forever and end this age of grace, beloved. And the Greek will bear this out in the examples I'm giving you below. And first is pharmakia, which is the use of drugs to put spells on people. And the needle, okay? And as you see, pharmakia is a means, it's a medium in which to bring about magic, sorcery, and enchantment, okay? And this is a tool of the devil, beloved. Let's go to Revelation 13:16. He calls all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. And here's wisdom: let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of man, and his number is 666. And this is in the Greek is chi, exi, stigma. And this is the chronology of his return. Trump, first the seal, the trump, and the vial, 666. Okay, and this is actually telling us the chronology of the return of Jesus Christ, and which is 777, and the return of the false Christ is 666. And Satan will attempt to get you to worship him in the 666, okay? And he's going to do it through any means he possibly can, and he's going to use this delivery system, this mark, and I'm going to show you how the Greek will bear this out to gain your allegiance, in essence, to make you worship him. And a closer look, we're going to look at this Greek word mark, and a lot of this is, beloved, this is really uncanny the way this ties in. Okay, and it's the Greek number 5480, and it's charagma, a stamp, an impress. And you see all the meanings there, and as a badge of servitude or a sculptured figure, and he's going to use this to gain your allegiance. And in essence, that's what the mark of the beast is. Any way he can get your allegiance, he's going to use it, beloved. Through technology, through worship, through open worship, through open Satan worship. There are people that worship Satan for who he is, but there are many who are just completely deceived as to who he is. And once you get this this mark, or this evil thing that Satan is going to use to gain control of your mind, whether it be through a vaccine, or whether they spray this stuff on you in the food, or from the sky, Satan is using any means he possibly can to gain your allegiance. And these examples I'm going to give below are different meanings of the same word in the Greek, this word mark. And the first in line is charax, okay? And it's a pointed stake, which is a needle. And what else has a point, beloved? And the Greek bears this out, and this is all part of the mark of the beast. And Satan will use anything he can to gain your allegiance. Through the needle, through your brain, through your mind, any way he can, he's going to use it. And this is the Strong's Greek number 5482, and it's charax, a pointed stake, a rampart, to sharpen to a point, akin to graphio, to the idea of scratching or etching, which is writing, okay? A stake, i.e. by implication, a palisade or a rampart, a military mound for circumvallation in a siege. He's going to siege your mind and take it over and rewrite your genetic makeup through this delivery system, beloved, whether it be through a needle, through spraying from the sky, chemtrails, spraying it on your food. They're actively trying to change your genetic makeup. And you look at this word graphio in the Greek. See the Greek word graphio. Okay, and it sounds a lot like graphene, which is found in pencil lead. And it's telling you, try to rewrite your genetic makeup to these vaccines, or any way they can deliver this poison into your veins to change your DNA, beloved. And you've got the Strong's Greek 1125, grapheo, to write, to rewrite your genetic makeup. Beloved, if this isn't brought forth in the Greek, I don't know which other way to announce this. It's all brought forward through the word mark, the mark of the beast, and the beast is Satan, and he's using this technology to change your genetic makeup. All right, and to sum this up, they're using the charax, or the needle, to grapheo, or rewrite your genetic code, giving you the charagma, or the mark of the beast, and the beast system. And you'll be wearing it as a badge of servitude, and be giving your allegiance to Satan, signifying your allegiance to Satan and effectively replacing your genetic makeup or DNA with his own. And beloved, I believe this is exactly what they're doing. All right, now let's go a little bit into conquering the human domain, or the agency of mankind. In the last few years, mankind has made many technological advances in regard to the human domain. And take a look at the words human domain, or the actual agency of mankind. And they've made advances in this technology at the molecular level, and are now able to manipulate the DNA of mankind. They're also able to connect a human psychological profile to a machine and manipulate the thoughts and intents of the heart or the mind. And they're doing this with systems called HARP and DARPA and all these technological advances, beloved. They're actually able to control people's minds. And new words have been created to describe this process, and they're called Neuralink, Starlink, Metaverse, Bioreactor. And they describe a world that is part virtual and part reality, whichever you choose. With the aid of technology, we'll now be able to pick your progeny from a vending machine or take a trip to the other side of the world through virtual reality. And this is completely changing the reality of the world we now live in. And we've now entered into the twilight zone, beloved. Mankind does not possess the moral authority to use this technology, and it's the antithesis of God's dominion over mankind. And only the Lord has preeminence over the destiny of mankind. This is exactly where the battle lies. The devil is trying to take it from God. What's really being said when you use the word conquering the human domain is you have taken over the destiny out of the hands of God. And the Lord has dominion over mankind, and it's not the other way around. We cannot take over the place of God, and this is exactly what the devil is trying to do right now through technology. And they're actually making an end run around God's sovereignty. And this is all done in the name of technological advancement. And this technology has already fallen into the hands of evil people and will not advance mankind in any way, shape, or form. They're planning to use this technology to enslave all of mankind, either that or kill them all, and then be left with this master race and a bunch of bio freaks, and bring in their version of a utopian society, and it'll be dystopian, beloved. We'll all be placed in bonds. Humans will now be able to have eternal life through technology, and their goal is to completely eliminate God out of the picture and place at the head Satan in this new utopia or this dystopia. With this new technology, they'll be able to hack the human mind and take it over from within, therefore conquering the human domain. They've even done exercises to implement this technology, and I remember when this happened, and they're still doing it, beloved. And here's one of the systems, and it's called this operation was called Jade Helm, and the system is called Palantir, and they're using this as a tool to map out the habits of mankind and ways in which to take their mind over, beloved. And they're facing challenges to the implementation of this technology, and most people are becoming aware of what's really going on, beloved. And they got to inject you with this DNA altering drug or vaccine and nanoparticles to use this technology. And make no mistake, the so-called vaccines are nothing more than a delivery systems for this technology. And they use every deception known to man to get it into your veins. And they'll use any means necessary to deliver this poison into your body, beloved. And they're actively engaged in this right now. And the virus, the COVID virus, was really never the threat in this so-called recent pandemic. The threat is actually the vaccine was developed by these psychopaths who believe they should be in control of all of us. And they actually believe their plan is better than God's, just as the people who built the Tower of Babel. They tried to build their way to heaven, and they tried to build their own salvation. And that's what these people are doing. Many of them have made a covenant with the devil, and some are being used by him and not even aware of it. They're playing with fire, and all of them will eventually get burned by Yahweh. If the people who got these vaccines actually knew what was in them, none of these people would ever have gotten the vaccine. And if they knew the very genetic makeup as a human being was actually being changed, they would not have given this permission to get these vaccines, beloved. They would have never done it. Not one of them has actually gotten actual informed consent, because we've all been lied to about this vaccine. And beloved, they had this vaccine developed many years ago, which is nothing more than an attempt to change your genome and to weaken your connection with God. And many of these people who have gotten these vaccines, beloved, their personalities have actually changed if you take careful account of their lives and notice the differences in the changes in their personalities. These psychopaths believe there is no such thing as body autonomy. They believe they have a right to put this stuff into your veins and take you over. And they believe they've got a right to change your DNA and basically just kill the old you and bring in the new you, which is, it's like them becoming God. And this has got the devil written all over it, beloved. And I also believe something more sinister is going on. The advancements in technology have outpaced the public's knowledge of it. Genetics, neuroscience, robotics, nanotechnology, and many others have made advances that could allow them to change the actual genome of the human race. And nothing can be achieved by this, beloved. It's going to end in disaster. When you understand the Bible in its proper context, you can't help but see the devil's attempt to pollute the DNA or the genome of mankind in one form or another from the very beginning. And it started in the Garden of Eden, and look where we are now. The woke agenda has actually distorted the XX and XY chromosomes and to make them into one. And it's basically a hermaphrodite in the physical sense, beloved. And these crazy, loony, demonic people have introduced a new language to the human race, and it changes the very definition of sexuality and even procreation. And the Lord knew that homosexuality would eventually lead to all this perversion, and that's why He called it an abomination, beloved, because we are actually, not we, but these people are actually changing the very definition of sexuality. And procreation is number one. It's how people are made. You can't make people without a maker, but that's what evil wants to do. What you see today is a distortion of the natural order of God, a distortion of procreation, and also a distortion of your DNA through a needle. Knowing the MO of the devil, I wouldn't expect anything less from him. Okay? And look at what was in these vaccines. They called them the mRNA vaccine. Okay? And it's changing your very genetic makeup, your dinucleic acid, on a molecular level. And this is where the battle is being fought right now, beloved. What's even more alarming to me is the amount of people who have gotten the vaccine without even knowing what is in it. They are willing sheep being led to the slaughter with their own uninformed consent. If they're willing to do this with their own body, what about their soul or spirit? Without looking at the spiritual aspect of all of this, you'll miss the entire point of what's really happening in the world today. Satan is making his final push to take the kingdom away from God, just like he did in the first age. And he's doing it again. Pure and simple. This is a spiritual battle between the forces of good and evil. Their oneness of mind tells me they are all under the control and leadership of Satan, whether knowingly or unknowingly. They are all in covenant with Satan. You must recognize the difference between the holy covenant of the evil covenant and the end times. There's two covenants, beloved, and you got to recognize the difference. Many in the world today have made a league or covenant with the devil, and you find this in the book of Daniel in verse 9:27. And it mentions both these covenants with the Lord and with the devil many times. In the end, this evil covenant will be worldwide, and it's just as we see it now, beloved. This strategy is worldwide. The stage is being set for the great katabolo of Satan all over again. Now let's go. We're going to wind this up here, but I'm going to go over one more until we go to the next video, beloved. And this one I call the image of God. And we're made in the image of God. And this goes deep, beloved, and I want to show you this. And this is going to start getting complicated. Satan is actually trying to distort the creation of God by making it his creation or his image. And here's the Greek word for image. And it's the Hebrew number 6754, and it's selim. In the image, okay? In the image, a form of an unused used root, meaning to shade, or a phantom, figuratively, an illusion or a resemblance. In other words, beloved, we're made in the exact image, just like Christ is made in the exact image of God. And let's go to Genesis 1:26. And God said, "Let us," meaning him and the angels or the children of God at this time, "make man in our image and after our likeness." And many scholars claim that God was speaking about himself in the plural as Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. And I don't believe God ever refers to himself in the plural, beloved. This is my take on this, and Elohim refers to those who were present with God at the time he created mankind, and that's why the word us is used. I believe this is referring to celestial beings before he created terrestrial mankind, and that's why he uses it in the plural. Your spirit was created long before it was placed in the womb of your mother or woman. The most logical conclusion to me is that in the beginning of this age, God was speaking to his children before he created mankind. Now I'll try to explain this, beloved, further here. Let us, who are presently celestial beings at the time God made this statement, okay? Celestial is spiritual beings, and which is God and his children, make man, carnal or flesh man, in our image or in the image of our celestial bodies. And this is God and his children in the plural. Your flesh body looks exactly like your celestial body. And Jesus is made in the same image as Yahweh too. So I hope that explains it to you. You can imagine, I'll try to bring this home a little bit more. You can imagine God and his children just sitting in heaven, and he's got them all gathered together with him before he created this age, this carnal age. And he simply said, let us, the God and his creation at that time in their celestial forms, let us make mankind in our image. And I believe this is borne out also in Revelation 12, when God was looking forward to this age from the previous age, where Satan messed it all up, and Satan's getting ready to do it again. But God was referring to all the celestial beings and himself, who is a spiritual being, never was or would become flesh except through the incarnation of himself through Jesus Christ. And he just simply said, let's make man in our image. Let's make man in the carnal sense exactly in our image. And I believe that's the best explanation that I've ever heard, beloved. All right, now we're going to go to the Garden of Eden, and this battle for this DNA started here, beloved. And this is God warning Eve not to mix her seed with the devil. And this is exactly what happened, beloved. Genesis 2:17, but of the tree of knowledge of good and evil, thou shalt not eat of it, or partake of it. Or, beloved, if you want to just get right down to where the rubber meets the road, do not have sex with Satan. For in that day thou eatest thereof, thou shalt surely die. And this is basically the actual sin of what happened with Adam and Eve and Satan. Essentially, Eve was not to mix her seed with the devil and distort that image. And we know that women don't have seed, okay? They have mitochondria. But through Abel, this seed had manifested itself through Abel. And then what happens? Abel was killed by Cain, who was the son of the devil. And the Lord said, don't mix your seed with the devil and distort that image. And the Lord knew this was going to happen. And this is my take on the devil's plans for mankind. The battle for the control of the DNA of mankind started in the Garden of Eden in this event, okay? And both Adam and Eve had sex with Satan, who was none other than the serpent, the Nakash, the divine whisperer. And until recently, we didn't know what the helix curve was, but the Lord knew all along. And the first prophecy in the Bible is regarding the children of Cain and the children of Adam, who had different fathers and different DNA. And the word generation in the Hebrew is from the prime, talad. And it's the Hebrew number 3205 in the Strongs. And it means to give birth or to bear children. Or toladah, and the Hebrew word is 8435 in the Strongs, meaning descendant or family or birth. And descendants and family are very important to God, beloved. And this is the first attempt of Satan to pollute the seed line that Christ would come through, and also to pollute the seed line of mankind. And the devil knew that Jesus Christ would umbilical cord to umbilical cord would come through Adam and Eve. Okay, now let's look at Genesis 3:15. And I will put enmity between thee and the woman, and between thy seed and her seed. This is the seed of Satan and the seed of Eve. Okay? And it shall bruise thy head, and thou shalt bruise his heel. And this is speaking about the contamination of the seed line, okay? Or the DNA. And God knew that this enmity, that he knew that Cain would rise up and kill Abel. And this is the first fulfillment of prophecy in the Bible. And you've got Kenite, which is the name for the descendants of Cain. And this is the Hebrew word Quion. And it's the Strong's Concordance number 714, which means the first child or the first murderer. Okay, and Cain was the first one born from Adam and Eve. He was born first, and then Abel was born second. They were fraternal twins, and this term is called superfundation. And let's go to Genesis 3:13. The Lord God said unto the woman, what is this that thou hast done? And the woman said, the serpent beguiled me, and I did eat. And all Eve was saying here through this metaphor is that she was beguiled or wholly seduced by Satan, and she ended up having Cain. So this proves that that's what happened in the Garden of Eden. And it was a sexual encounter between Adam and Eve and Satan. And this is proof of it right here, beloved, in Genesis 3:13. Okay, beloved, that's going to end this and we'll move on here to the first fulfillment of prophecy, and I'll explain it further, but I'm going to end this right here and take a break and go into the second half of this video. And much love from me to you, and we'll see you very soon on the next video.